Welcome to our program. I'm your host, Chris Spurlock. It's true there's a lot you can do to prevent a fire from starting in your home. Working smoke alarms, cooking safety, having the proper fire extinguisher handy, and so on. But even though you and your family may have taken proper precautions, a fire can still happen. And unless you have a plan of escape from your home or a public place when a fire breaks out, then you're not totally prepared. First on today's show, we'll take a look at escape plans and escape techniques for your home. Then we'll look at how you can prepare yourself for escaping fire at work. After that, we'll address fire escape planning for schools. And finally, we'll talk about being prepared to escape fire in public places like hotels, malls, and dormitories. That's all coming up, so stay with us as you get the facts on fire.
We were awakened about 2 a.m. in the morning with the smoke alarms going off. And I came out of my bedroom and went down the hall and saw the orange glow coming from the living room and looked in, and the couch was engulfed in flames.
The Bedell family narrowly escaped a horrible fire in their home.
I went and opened the front door, and when I opened the front door, the whole room went up.
I immediately, as soon as I realized there was fire, went into the girls' room. I woke up Kayla and told her that there's a fire in the house and that we needed to get out. She got up and without asking any questions, got out and headed across the street to our meeting place. I would never in a million years think it would happen so fast. It's just phenomenal how quickly everything burns.
Without our safety plan, I don't think we would have been able to make it out of the house alive. It's really important to have one.
In this case, this young man had an excellent plan, enacted his plan. His family was outside waiting on us when we arrived. Everyone accounted for. A plan enacted, it worked. It saved this whole family.
Here's a spot quiz to find out what you know about fire escape safety. First, if you see smoke in your house, should you run through the middle of it to get out the door? Second, you've just escaped a fire at your house, but you realize the family cat is still inside. Should you go back in and try to save him? Next, if this item is not in working order, your escape plan could fail. What is it? Fourth, you're in a tall building and you hear a fire alarm. How should you get out the building? And finally, you've opened up your bedroom door and smoke starts pouring in. What should you do? Jot those down and take a shot at the answers.
One big reason why people are killed or injured by fire is they don't have an escape plan and they find themselves trapped and confused. Joining me in the studio is Carolyn Smith, an educator. Carolyn, first off, why is it important to have an escape plan?
Fire moves very quickly, Chris, and smoke fills the room. Smoke is very deadly and people can get disoriented very quickly. They think that they'll be able to know what to do, but when it actually happens, you really don't know what to do unless you've planned for it.
And what are some important escape tips?
You need to make sure that you have smoke detectors on every level of your house. You need to make sure that you replace the batteries at least once or twice a year. It's always good to check them, like when the time changes in the fall and in the spring. That's a very good reminder. You need to make sure that you have two ways of getting out of each room in your house, and you need to make sure that those exits are free of clutter, because if it's blocked, there's no way you can get out.
Okay, so how do we develop this critical escape plan?
It's very important that you sit down with your family and make sure that they're aware of what's going on. You need to draw out your house. You need to draw out every room in there. You need to draw out the exits to the house, to the rooms. Make sure that they understand that a window is an exit if you cannot go out the door. You need to practice this plan. Practice is the key to everything. The best made plan without practicing it is not going to work when the actual fire may be in your house.
Okay, so would it be good just to memorize the plan?
Oh no, absolutely not. Because if you don't actually practice it, whenever the situation comes up, you're going to be so excited, your adrenaline is going to be flowing so fast that you're really not going to know what to do, and especially your children. They are not going to know, and they're going to be afraid. And if they haven't practiced this, they're just going to be screaming and hollering, and you are going to be upset. So that's why it's very, very, very important that you practice this plan with everyone in your house.
Okay, so what's first in your evacuation plan?
You need to make sure that everyone knows what to do when the smoke detector goes off. They need to know that if their exit is blocked, if their door is blocked, if they go to the door, we should all sleep with our doors closed at night. And if they go to the door, they should touch the door with the back of their hand. And if it's hot, then they know that they can't go out that exit, that they're going to have to go out their alternative exit, which probably will be a window in their bedroom or something like that. They need to know that where to meet. You need to have a meeting place, and it needs to be far enough away from your house, because if your house is fully engulfed in fire, the heat from it is going to travel a great distance. So you need to make sure that your meeting place is far enough away from your house so that you will not get harmed from that. You need to make sure that you call emergency personnel outside of your house. Never try to call 911 or the fire department from inside of your house. Make sure that someone is in charge of calling the emergency personnel.
And like me, what if you live or sleep on the second floor?
You need to make sure, again, that you have an alternative route. If you have, you can purchase these safety ladders that when you raise the window, the ladder will drop down and you can escape that way. You need to make sure that there are some of these upstairs on the second level, because if you were on the second level and your window's your only way out and you didn't have a safety ladder, then you may have to jump for safety, and then you might possibly could be harmed from that. But one thing that's very, very important, once you get outside, you need to stay outside. Never, ever go back in for anything.
Any other things we should know about practicing our escape?
You need to practice opening windows. We need to make sure that our windows are not sealed shut. You know, that sounds really common, and that, you know, yeah, I can open my window. You need to make sure that you can. You need to make sure that your children can do this, because, like I said earlier, they're going to be upset and frightened, but the more they practice this, the more second nature it's going to be for them. And they need to know that if by some chance they do catch on fire, you know, heaven forbid that happening, but if they do, they need to practice the stop, drop, and roll so that they can get the fire off of them.
Let's say I'm spending the night at a friend's house. Same thing apply?
Well, the first thing you need to do when you go to this friend's house is to ask them, do they have an escape plan? And hopefully they do, so that you will know what to do in the middle of the night, because you're going to be disoriented when you wake up in some strange place anyway. And you need to have gone over the escape routes and what the routes out of the room are. And if they don't have an escape plan, then maybe you could sit down with them and go over one and maybe even practice it, because it may sound foolish, but it could save a life.
Okay, and what about small children, elderly or handicapped person? Any special considerations for them?
Yes, with small children, you need to make it like with babies or infants. Someone needs to be responsible for getting them out. You need to make sure that, say, I know like in my family, we had a son and a daughter. My husband was responsible for getting my son out. I was responsible for getting my daughter out when they were infants. We knew that was a part of our plan. The older the children get, when they're toddling around and they can walk out by themselves, they need to actually practice the thing. And elderly people, you need to make sure that someone is going to help them out also, because they're going to be nervous, they're going to be upset, and hopefully there's someone in your house that can help them be in charge of getting them out also.
Thanks, Carolyn, for great information. Information that can save lives in the event of a home fire. Stay with us and we'll be right back.
Let's briefly summarize some fire escape tips for the home. Make sure your smoke alarms are working. Draw a floor plan of your house indicating exits. Each room should have at least 2 exits. Practice escaping from the house at least twice a year. Practice in the dark or with a blindfold to make it more realistic. If the alarm goes off and your door is closed, check the door with the back of your hand. If it's hot, don't open it. If it's cool, slowly open it up. If there's strong smoke, quickly close the door. If you have to go through smoke, crawl on the floor on all fours with your head 1 to 2 feet from the ground. If you catch on fire, stop, drop, and roll. When you're out of the house, run to your safe meeting place. Then, and only then, call 911. or the appropriate emergency number. Never, never go back into a burning house for any reason. Get out and stay out.
More than 4,000 Americans die each year in fires. Nearly 80% of those happen in the home. That's why it's so important to have working smoke alarms. They can double your chances of surviving a fire. Place a smoke alarm on each level of your house. Check smoke alarms monthly to make sure they work. Change the batteries twice a year. And teach children what to do when they hear the alarm sound. Keep your home safe. Don't play with fire.
We're here with fire educator Carolyn Smith discussing ways to escape from fire. Carolyn, what are some common misperceptions about escaping fire from your home?
Chris, most people feel that a fire will never happen in their house, and they think that, well, if it does, it's no big deal, I'll be able to get out. An example of this, whenever I was in the classroom, I used to teach fire education to my children, and we would actually sit down and go through, and the kids would draw out an escape plan of their house, and their homework was to go home and explain to their parents what they had done, and they were to practice this drill. And most of my children did, and I had some parents that would say, you know, thank you, and I would have some say, you know, but one of my students in particular was very adamant. He wanted his parents to make sure that they knew exactly what to do. About 6 months after we had did this in class and he'd gone home and he'd practiced this with them, they had a fire in their house and they were all able to escape. He heard the smoke alarm and he knew what to do. His family knew what to do, and they were able to escape from that burning house with no one being hurt. His mother found me and thanked me for having them do that in our class, and you know, that really meant a lot to me. You know, sometimes as a teacher you think, well, I'm just wasting my time, the kids really aren't doing this, but whenever you can really truly feel that you've made a difference in someone's lives. And the mother told me if he had not woken up, if we had not been awakened by him, then we would have all died, and that was so important.
Well, thanks for the tip, Carolyn.
You're welcome.
Stay with us, we'll be back in just a minute.
Now it's time to see how you did on that spot quiz. First, if you see smoke in your house, should you run through the middle of it to get out the door? No. The leading cause of fire-related death is smoke inhalation. If at all possible, exit away from any smoke. If that's not possible, crawl on the ground on all fours, keeping your head about a foot or two above the floor until you get outside. Smoke rises, so you'll be able to get more fresh air lower down. Close doors behind you, so smoke and flames don't spread. You've just escaped a fire at your house, but you realize the family cat is still inside. Should you go back in and try to save him? Absolutely not. Once you're outside, never, never go back in for any reason. Many people have died going back into a burning house. Don't even stop to call for help while you're inside. Get outside and stay outside. Then you can call for help. Next, if this item is not in working order, your escape plan could fail. What is it? The item is a smoke alarm, quite possibly the most important fire safety device around. Smoke alarms can buy you time to get out, and time can be the difference between life and death. A properly working and well-maintained smoke alarm can help you and your family survive. Remember to check the alarm once a month and change the batteries twice a year. When your alarm turns 10 years old, get a new one. And finally, you've opened up your bedroom door and smoke starts pouring in. What should you do? Quickly shut the door and think whether you have an alternate means of escape. If you don't, use clothes or duct tape to seal the door. Call 911 or the appropriate emergency number and tell them where you're located. Open the window up slightly to get fresh air into the room. If smoke starts coming into the room from outside, quickly shut the window. If there's no smoke coming in from outside, hang a bright cloth or towel out the window to indicate your location to the firemen. Position yourself near the window and wave a bright cloth or flashlight to help get the attention of the emergency team as well.
A fire escape plan for the home can help you calmly get out of harm's way. You can never practice too much or be overly prepared. Remember, when you hear the sound of a smoke alarm, stop what you're doing immediately. Shout to everyone, get outside, and follow your escape plan as quickly as possible. Don't stop until you're at the family's safe meeting place. Many lives have been lost because the residents didn't know what to do or they didn't act quickly enough. Make sure you know what to do, practice it, and then escape. You're at school, the mall, or movie theater, and the next thing you know, there's smoke and fire filling the building. Do you know what to do? Are you prepared? Anytime you're in a public place, you should find out as much as possible about the building and how to escape if a fire starts. It's different from your home, and you have to be prepared to adjust your escape plan to your present environment. Escaping fire in public places. You'll get those facts on fire next. Stay tuned.
I've seen throughout my career several fires in commercial settings where inattention and storage and placement of said items in relation to their business has caused a fire. It's been my findings that some rubbish or trash or some kind of inattention on that behalf is what the seat of the fire, or where the seat of the fire or the cause of the fire was.
Here's a spot quiz. What's the largest single cause of fires in office buildings? If you're in a high-rise building and the fire alarm sounds, what's your best way to get down to the ground floor if there's not smoke and fire in the way? You've never used a fire extinguisher before. A fire breaks out in your office. Should you attempt to put the fire out with an extinguisher? Do you know what to do if a fire breaks out in your office area? Jot those questions down and see if you have the answers. We'll be right back. Did you know that according to the latest statistics, firemen respond to fires in America every 18 seconds, and they battle almost 1.7 million fires a year? If you hear or see fire trucks or other emergency vehicles approaching, move off the road and allow them to pass. The quicker firemen get to the fire, the greater chance they have of saving life and property. Stay tuned for more facts on fire.
Welcome back. I'm with Carolyn Smith, and right now we're talking about escaping office fires. We think back to September 11, 2001, and it makes us very aware of the dreadful stakes if we don't get out of a burning building quickly enough. Overall, though, the workers in the World Trade Center crash did a good job of getting out. 25,000 employees made it out from as high as 110 stories in the air. Carolyn, first off, what's the leading cause of fires in an office building?
Chris, arson is one of the leading causes in office buildings, along with electrical fires and people smoking. Those are some things that you may not think about, but smoking can lead to a lot of it.
And what can be done to decrease the chances of fires in an office?
Well, one thing that people can do to help decrease the fires is that they can make sure that their workspace is clean and clear of clutter. You know, we shouldn't have papers on top of our computer monitors. We shouldn't have our plug-ins overloaded. You know, if it's a two-prong thing, then it should be 2 things plugged in there, not 50. And that's one of the major problems that people find. If you're going to have a smoking area, it needs to be outside the building, not inside the building, because you're less likely for a lit cigarette to get thrown into a trash can or something like that. You need to make sure that there's not a lot of extension cords running here, there, and everywhere to plug in things. If need be, you need to put more plugs in the office in order to keep it safe.
Okay, now what are some things that an employer can do to be better prepared for fire in an office?
They can make sure that they practice fire drills. They can make sure that they have the evacuation routes posted where everyone knows where they are. You need to make sure that that all exits are clearly marked and they're not blocked so that you can get out.
Now let's talk about the employees. What can they do to be prepared?
Well, first off, you need to familiarize yourself with the escape plan. That's one of the first things that you need to do when you start to work at somewhere, to look to see where all the exits are. See how far away from the exits your office is. Make sure that the stairwells are not blocked. And you need to remember never to get on an elevator if a fire alarm goes off. That's the worst place that you can be. You need to make sure that your work area is clear and free of clutter. And also that you don't overload circuits. You know, your employer may tell you not to do that, but you may think, oh, it's not going to hurt. I'll just plug one more thing in here. But we need to make sure that we as employees don't do that. And if an alarm goes off, we need to take it seriously. We don't need to say, oh, they're just working on it, or oh, they do that every Monday and I'm not going to get up and leave. We need to take everything seriously because we never know when it could be serious.
Well, let's pretend that we really do have a fire. What are some appropriate steps to take?
Okay, the first thing, if the fire alarm has not been pulled, you need to pull it to make sure that everybody else in the building knows that there is a fire. You need to make sure that you know how to get out. Again, it's very, very important. I keep saying that, but it's so important because we think that if it happens, we'll know, but we need to practice this just like in our homes. We need to practice escaping from our offices also. We need to know about how far the exits are from us and make sure that they're not blocked again.
Okay, what if I can't get out of my office, which is a number of floors up, because of the smoke and the fire? It's just become overwhelming and overpowering.
Okay. If you have a phone in your office, you should call 911 to make sure that they're aware that the fire is in the building. You need to go to the window and make sure that if you can hang something out the window, something bright, to call attention to yourself. You need to seal off the doorway. If there's smoke outside your door, if you've tested the door and see that it is hot or that there's smoke outside the door, you need to try and seal it off the best way that you can. That's another use for duct tape. People, you know, we can duct tape the door up so that smoke can't get in. But smoke is very, very dangerous. Most of the time it's the smoke that gets to the people and actually kills them before the actual flames get there. But go over to your window and you know, act crazy, jump around, whatever. Call attention to the fact that, hey, I'm up here and I need to get out. That's very important.
And just how important are fire drills?
Chris, they're very important. I can't overemphasize that. Wherever you are, you need to practice these drills. Take them seriously. If you don't take it seriously, it's kind of like practicing for a baseball game. If your practice is lousy and you're not taking it seriously, when you go into the game, you're going to not take the game seriously and you're going to make mistakes that you normally wouldn't make. So with a fire drill, you need to execute it exactly like you would if it were a real fire. Practice like if it were really something on fire. Get out and stay out. Very important.
Great information. Thanks again, Carolyn. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Here's a quick summary of important fire safety tips for the workplace. Familiarize yourself with your building's evacuation plan. Know where at least 2 of your nearest exits are located. Know how many desks and doors are between you and your exits. It's a good idea to have a flashlight at your desk. Familiarize yourself with the location of fire alarms and how to use them. Post emergency numbers for the fire department on or near all phones. Use stairs, not the elevator. And constantly practice fire drills so you'll know what to do in an emergency situation.
We're back with Carolyn Smith, fire educator. Carolyn, what are some misperceptions about workplace fire safety?
Again, Chris, I say people think that it will never happen to them. They think that their office is never going to catch on fire, and if it does, they're going to know exactly what to do. They're going to know which exit to take and that kind of thing, but that's not true. You are not going to know. You're going to be disoriented. You're going to be excited, and there's going to be a lot of chaos. Just think if 50 people are trying to get out the same door, how unorganized that's going to be and how chaotic that can be. Again, it's important to know all of your routes, know which escape you need to take that's best for you, the closest one for you to get out, and to practice this. and take it seriously, because you never know when that next alarm could be the real thing.
Thanks, Carolyn, for shedding some light on that misperception. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
There's an average of 5,000 office building fires reported each year. If you hear a fire alarm, follow your fire evacuation plan. Fire and smoke can spread quickly in a matter of seconds, so get out the building quickly and stay out. This message brought to you by the Facts on Fire Network. Now it's time to see how you did on that spot quiz. What's the largest single cause of fires in office buildings? There are an average of 5,000 office building fires reported each year. The largest single cause of fires in office buildings is arson. If you're in a high-rise building and the fire alarm sounds, what's your best way to get down if there's not smoke and fire in the way? Take the stairs and get down as low as possible to the ground if you encounter smoke. You've never used a fire extinguisher before. A fire breaks out in your office. Should you attempt to put the fire out with the extinguisher? No. If you're not properly trained with a fire extinguisher, you could make the situation more dangerous. If the fire is big and out of control, even a trained person should not attempt to put the fire out with an extinguisher. Everyone should immediately evacuate. Do you know what to do if a fire breaks out in your office area? If you see a fire, pull the fire alarm. Follow your safe evacuation plan, choosing one of your 2 exits. Make sure doors are not hot and that there isn't a lot of smoke, then proceed. If you have to go through smoke, crawl on all fours with your head a foot or 2 above the ground. Quickly get to the safe meeting area away from the building. And never ever go back into a burning building.
It's a good idea to be prepared. You never know when a fire might start at your office. So play it safe by being prepared, know your escape routes, and use proper techniques as you're moving through the building. Maybe you can even talk with your boss about higher fire safety preparations and safety at your business. The more people that are educated and prepared, the greater the number of lives that will be saved. In 1958, 92 students died in the school fire in Chicago. Many of the survivors were scarred with horrible burns that remain with them to this very day. It's a scenario we don't like to think about. Young people in danger of being killed or injured. But that's the reality if a fire strikes at a school. Do all the students know what to do? Are they prepared for the worst emergency situation possible? Stay tuned and you'll find out how students and staff can be ready to escape from fire if it happens at their school.
Here are your spot quiz questions. You hear the fire alarm. What should you do when you come to a closed door? What should you do if you're in a hallway filled with smoke? What should you do if you're in the bathroom or not with your class when the fire alarm sounds? Is it okay to run in the halls during a fire? Think about those questions and then try to answer them. Later on, you can check to see if you've got them right. Stay with us for more Facts on Fire.
We're back with fire educator Carolyn Smith discussing school fire safety. Carolyn, how big a problem is fires in school?
Well, Chris, fires really aren't a major problem as they were years ago, like the Chicago fire that we were talking about earlier. Because of fires like that, the schools have been mandated to do fire drills so that the children will be prepared as to what to do. Some of the major places that potential fires are at school are in science labs, cafeterias, ag shops, things like that. But as teachers, we have to be trained to know what to do in case of those fires, and we train our children in those specific incidences.
Okay, a class is in session and the fire alarm goes off. What's the first line of action?
Well, the students are supposed to stand up beside their desk in a nice orderly manner, line up in a row, and we file out in a single line to our designated spots. Inside each classroom there is a escape plan, and we go over that at the beginning of each school year so that the children will know whatever class they're in, which direction they go, which exit is the closest to them. We go to our designated spot. As a teacher, we are responsible for taking our grade books out, and when we get to our spot, to check and make sure that we have all the students that are assigned to us for that hour. And that's something that's very important, to make sure that we have all of our children, so that if there is one missing, we can notify the authorities that somebody is inside there in case it is actually a fire. But the key to that is the children knowing that they have to be calm. We walk to where we're going, and getting them out safely and not going back.
Okay, that leads to my next question. When the alarm goes off, why shouldn't I run to safety?
Well, if it were just you, Chris, running, that may be okay. But if we have 150 students in a hallway running, can you imagine the chaos it will be? You would have more children falling and getting trampled than possibly could get hurt in the fire. So that's why we tell them it's to be calm. It's okay. Even if the building is on fire, we're going to get out of here without being hurt. So unless running is your last option, I can't advocate that. I certainly cannot.
Okay. And what if the class is on the second or third floor?
Well, the thing that a teacher needs to do if the alarm goes off, she needs to first check to see if the fire is outside of her room. And if it is, then she needs to keep her class inside, you know, because you're supposed to have an alternative route out of your room. If it's on the first floor, you need to, if it's outside of your room, it's easy to climb out the window. If you're on the second floor, you have to keep your kids inside there, seal off the door so that smoke and stuff can't get inside there, and raise the windows and hang something out so that they'll know that there are students still in the building if there's actually a fire. But never ever, I know some of the more modern schools now have elevators in their schools because they're 3 and 4 stories, and because of children with disabilities have to have elevators. Never get on an elevator. Always use your stairs. You know, always use your stairs when you're leaving a building.
Okay, let's say I'm trying to escape and I come to a door. What should I do in that scenario?
Well, you know, we teach our children to touch the back of the door with their hand, the knob, because if it's hot, then the fire is probably going to be on the outside of that door, and that means that we cannot go out that way. If it's not hot, then you should ease the door open. Never just pull it open real fast, because we don't know exactly where the fire may be out there, or the smoke. The smoke, again, is that deadly killer that people don't realize how serious smoke is, and the deadly results of it. So ease the door open, and if there's not smoke, then evacuate your class that way. You know, go through your drill, go out the exit that's been assigned to you, and get your students away from the building as soon as possible.
Okay. Now, what should we do in the event that the teacher's not in the class?
Well, Chris, hopefully that won't happen, because as a teacher, you're responsible for those babies, and you need to be with them at all times. But if that happens, you should tell your students that, I mean, you should have practiced this enough where that they would know what to do in case the alarm goes off. And they should orderly get up, stand up in a line, and go out. A lot of times, you know, you have leaders in your classroom, you know, like you're the leader of the day. You may tell the student, you know, that you're my leader, you're going to lead us out today, and things like that. But again, a teacher is supposed to be with her kids at all times, or some adult is, and that adult is in charge of them to get them out to safety.
Okay, and what about younger students, say like elementary school students, kindergarten?
Mm-hmm. It's important, especially with that age group, that you practice with them and explain to them what you're doing and how it's going to be executed, because they are going to get scared a lot faster than your middle school to high school kids. Explain to them that this is a drill, even if it's a real fire. You know, I always tell mine it's a drill, because if you tell them it's a real fire, then they're going to just, you know, panic, and we don't need that. We don't need that. We need to explain to the young children that the firemen are our friends, and not to run from them, and never hide. Never ever go into a closet or under a desk. To follow the procedure as we have practiced. That's very important.
Okay. Well, let's say a student's not with the class, say they have to go to the restroom, something along that nature. What should they do?
they should go to the nearest exit that's available to them and get out and go to a teacher, someone who is in charge, and let them know. Because if they're in the restroom and their class has already gone out another way, they need to go to a teacher to let someone in charge know that they are out of the building, or else that teacher's going to be looking for that child, trying to find that child.
Just how important are fire drills in school?
Fire drills are very, very important. It goes back to just like your home escape plan. We need to practice these so that the children, it'll be second nature. They hear the fire alarm, they immediately stop what they're doing, get up, get in a single line, walk out to their designated area, stay there until we're told that it's safe to go back in, or whatever the next directions may be. I can't emphasize how important they are to actually do them and not just talk about them and put them up. It's very, very important that we do them.
I guess those that are best prepared have a better chance of surviving, whether they're at school, work, or at home. Thanks, Carolyn. Stay with us. We'll be right back with more Facts on Fire.
If you hear the fire alarm go off at your school, here's a summary of what you should do. First, all the students should immediately and quickly line up in a row at the head of the class. It's important for the students to stay quiet and not to panic. When the teacher determines that it's safe to leave the room into the hall, then everyone should walk quickly in a row toward the nearest exit. Everyone should proceed out to the established safe meeting area. The teacher is the one leading and supervising the class, so students should listen to and follow instructions from their teacher. If you catch on fire, stop, drop, and roll. Crawl on all fours with your head close to the ground when going through smoke.
We're back with Carolyn Smith. Carolyn, what are some misperceptions people might have about escaping fires at school?
Again, Chris, I go back to the same thing. People think that it's never going to happen to them. My school's never going to burn. We're never going to have a fire at school. We're never going to have a fire in my dorm room or anything like that. And it's real sad. There's a story. A lot of people ignore the alarm, and we cannot ignore the alarm. We have to go out. We have to get out. Recently, there was a fire in a dorm. The fire alarm went off. It was a young girl in her dorm room. She was talking on the telephone. The alarm was annoying her, so she went in her closet to get away from the alarm. Well, the building was really on fire. And I hate to say this, but she perished because she did not get out. She ignored the alarm. We cannot do that, Chris. We have to go. Even if it is a drill or even if it is false, if it's a prank, whatever, we never know. And that one time with her, she thought, this is, it's just another prank or another drill. And she's not going to have the chance to practice that again because she's no longer with us.
Wow. Thanks, Carolyn, for useful tips on escaping fire in a school setting. When we come back, we'll be talking about safety in public places. But first, these messages.
Now it's time to see how you did on that spot quiz. You hear the fire alarm. What should you do when you come to a closed door? Feel the door and knob with the back of your hand. If it's cool to the touch, slowly open the door. If there's no smoke, proceed and close the door behind you. If there is smoke, quickly close the door and determine if your alternate exit will work. What should you do if you're in a hallway filled with smoke? Drop to all fours and crawl on the ground, keeping your head 1 to 2 feet from the floor. Smoke rises, so the area near the floor has the cleanest air to breathe. What should you do if you're in the bathroom or not with your class when the fire alarm sounds? You should immediately proceed to the nearest exit and then meet your class at the safe meeting place. It's always good for a student to know the floor plan of the building and where fire alarms are located and how to use them. Is it okay to run in the halls during a fire? It's not a good idea to run unless you're in imminent danger of being burnt immediately. You also have to consider that the biggest threat is smoke inhalation, and you don't want to run into a thick cloud of smoke because you could be suffocated quickly. You're supposed to crawl on all fours on the ground to escape through smoke. Another reason running is not a good idea is because it creates chaos, and people could be trampled or seriously injured on their way out.
Every school should regularly practice fire drills. It's not every day that a school has a fire, but the potential is always there. With so many people and such a big facility, other dangers can be added to the situation if people begin to panic. If you prepare by practicing your escape strategy and keeping your cool in a crisis, you can help make your school a safer place.
I was staying overnight in a hotel, and I woke up, and when I woke up, I couldn't see anything. So instantly I kind of went into panic mode, trying to figure out what was going on. I think we rely so heavily on our visual senses that when I couldn't see anything, I kept trying to use them even though I couldn't. Well, eventually I sat up, trying to get out of the bed, and when I sat up, that's when the smoke was so thick in the room, it just kind of overwhelmed me. I started coughing and gagging on it. I tried to start thinking, remembered when I was younger, they said get down low. So immediately I got down on the floor and pulled my sweatshirt over my mouth. And this did help. It kind of filtered some of the smoke out, and the smoke was less dense down towards the floor. It was really hard to get out of the room because I couldn't see anything. I kept bumping into things and getting turned around. Eventually, what I did is I stopped and I told myself, if you don't stop and figure out how to get out of here, you're gonna die. Because I kept running around, it's kind of like a rat in a maze. So what I did is I stopped, and it so happened I had a roommate staying in the room with me, and they had gotten up earlier to take a shower. They were still in the shower. So I stopped and listened and heard the shower running. And it was by using the other senses, sound and feeling on the walls and figuring out where I was, that I eventually did get to the door and was able to get out. It was an electrical fire, and the ventilation system overhead had caught on fire. So we went around knocking on the doors to all the other rooms as we went out, yelling for people to get out of the building. And everybody did, pretty much. We got everybody on our floor out. There were no smoke alarms in the room. I just happened to wake up. It was, either luck or a miracle or however you want to put it. It was just fate that I woke up at that time. It was very lucky. And the time of the day that it happened, because we had slept very late. We were out late the night before. So we got up maybe 9 in the morning. Had this been early in the morning, 3 or 4 in the morning, probably neither one of us would have been awake, and we probably would be dead right now.
It's the unthinkable. You're at a restaurant, hotel, or theater, and the smoke and fire begin to fill the air. Recently, a fire swept through a nightclub in Rhode Island. Few were prepared for the disaster, and at least 100 people were killed in the blaze. Exits were blocked, and most of the patrons didn't know how to escape. The results were disastrous. What would you have done in a similar situation? How would you have escaped? These are questions that are better asked and answered before you find yourself in that situation. And that's exactly what we'll be talking about next, how to be prepared for fire in public places.
Here's a spot quiz. What's the first thing you should do when you walk into a public building you've never entered before? If a public place is over capacity or has too few exits, what should you do? At the first sound of a fire alarm, what should you do? In case of fire, should you exit out of the same door you came in? What safety features should you look for before booking a hotel or motel? What should you pack with you when staying overnight at a hotel or motel? Try and answer these questions, and we'll have the answers a little later. Some fire experts estimate you have less than a minute to get out of a building once you hear a fire alarm. Statistics also show that about 75% of people think that the fire alarm is just a false alarm. In a movie theater, when a fire alarm goes off, most people won't leave until the movie actually stops. Do you react to a fire alarm immediately? You should, because it can save your life. Stay tuned for more facts on fire.
Welcome back. I'm here with Carolyn Smith talking about safety in public places. What would you consider a public place, Carolyn?
Chris, a public place is anywhere where there's a lot of people. That can be a church, a supermarket, a mall, a hotel, a school building, anywhere where there are a lot of people.
Okay, and what would be the first thing I should consider when I walk into a public place, say like a restaurant or a theater?
The first thing you need to do, Chris, is to look for exits, because we all know where we're coming in And if everybody tries to get out that one exit that we all came into, if something were to happen, it's not going to be a pretty sight. So we need to look for another exit out of the place, and we need to look to make sure that it's not blocked or obstructed. Check, look around, you know, just kind of scope the area out. Are there sprinklers here in this building? Are the exits lit? You know, because I believe the codes say that the exits are supposed to be lit so that you can see it, and they're supposed to be lit with safety things, like in case the electricity goes off or something like that. So kind of check all those things out.
Any other things I should look for?
Well, you need to look to see how many people are in the building. If you go into a place and it looks like it may be overcrowded, then it probably is. And you may want to leave, because if the building is over its capacity and something happens, people are going to panic, and they're going to all be trying to leave, and you could possibly be hurt in the leaving of the building. So kind of check those things out.
What should I do if the alarm goes off?
Well, Chris, don't sit there and pretend that nothing happened. That's one thing that you don't do. You need to exit the building as quickly as possible. I realize that it could possibly be a false alarm or something like that, but we never know. It's very, very important that we take it seriously. Get out of the building. Go to an exit. That's why it's important when you go into this building, you know where alternate exits are, because most people are going to go out the one that they came in. So, but you're going to be smart and know a different one. You're going to try to get out that one. Make sure that it's not blocked or anything like that. Never go back in a building. Never. You know, we keep talking about that, but that is so important. Once you exit something that possibly is on fire, never ever go back in. If there's smoke in the building, you may need to crawl low on the floor, because smoke rises. The smoke is one of the deadliest things that we face in a fire. So it's very important that we know all those things and we're aware of our surroundings.
Okay. And what if my family and I are on vacation and we're staying in a hotel? What are some things we should look for maybe I can look for to help make them safer?
Okay. There needs to be evacuation plans posted on the back of each hotel door. When you go into your room, what I always do is I'm going to my room. I'm checking it out. Where are my exits? How far away from the exit am I? I count the doors, you know, like if I'm in the middle of the hall, how many doors down is it before the stairwell? I look to see if there are fire alarms on the outside that I can pull to alert that there's a fire in the building. I check for sprinkler systems, you know. I look for all of these type of things. I go over with my family. You know, if the fire alarm goes off, this is the way we're going to go. These are the stairs that we're going to go down. And I have even been known to go down the steps, you know, to make sure that they're not blocked, because, you know, some people don't take these things seriously, and you as well as I, as fire educators, we take it real seriously, and especially when we're talking about our own family.
Yes, we do. Now, are these things that we can find out, you know, during the reservation process? Say we call the hotel or we go on the internet, find out whether or not they have these safety features in place?
Yeah, you can ask them. You know, to me, I would not be offended at all if I were an owner of a hotel and someone said, you know, could you please explain to me if you have sprinkler systems and fire alarms? They should be willing to tell you that information. If they're not willing to tell you that, or if they say, well, I'm really not sure, you may want to stay somewhere else.
That's true. Now, should I pack anything special if I'm staying in a hotel? Some things I should take with me personally?
Well, it has been suggested in some places that we carry a portable smoke detector with us. Now, that is optional to you. You know, like I said earlier, I'm going to ask them if they have those type of things. And probably if they don't, I'm not going to go. But that may be an option that you carry with you, something like that. Carry a flashlight. One thing that we always carry with us is a flashlight, because as we've talked earlier, it's dark. You know, it's not going to be light and bright. The smoke, if a fire breaks out, it's going to be dark, and you're going to need some sort of light to help you. Duct tape, maybe, to tape the doors up, some type of cloth or something like that to put over your mouth in case you find yourself in a smoke-filled room.
Okay, now, just off the cuff. I make these preparations for my family, and I do the inspection, what have you. Should I go over this with them, or should I make sure that they're as aware of it as I am?
Definitely, Chris. I think that your family, because if they're not aware of of things that are going on, and you're the only one that knows what to do and where to go, what happens if what happens if you are not there? You know, let's say you've gone out to the store for something, and something happens while you're gone. So I think it's very, very important that you discuss this with your family. Explain to them all these things that you brought. Explain to them how important it is that they know where to go in case of a fire. Very, very important.
Now, what if there is an actual fire in my room?
You need to leave the room immediately.
Okay.
If the alarm has not gone off, you need to pull it. You need to make sure that everyone in the hotel knows that, hey, there's a fire somewhere and you need to get out. Call 911. You know, most of us have our cell phones now. We can call the emergency personnel, but get out. Make sure that you get out and don't go back until the authorities have told you that it's okay to go back.
Thanks again, Carol. Some very useful tips for public fire evacuations. Stay tuned. We'll be back in 1 minute.
Here's a summary of how you can be safer from fire in public places. Know at least 2 escape exits in any public building you enter. If a building has unsafe conditions, such as overcapacity of people and no smoke alarms, leave immediately. Walk through the exits to make sure they're not blocked. Count doors to know where to go in case of low visibility. Never take the elevator. Always take the stairs. If you catch on fire, stop, drop, and roll. If you hear a fire alarm, react immediately every time, even if it's a malfunction. Escape as quickly as you can. Time is key to survival. And never completely depend on public institutions or neighbors for your safety. Take proactive measures to protect yourself from fire wherever you are. More people in America die from fire than all other natural disasters combined. Make sure you know the facts on fire and then make plans for a safe escape.
We're rejoined in the studio by fire educator Carolyn Smith. Carolyn, what's the most common misperception that some people have about fire situations and the need to escape?
Again, Chris, I reiterate, people think that it's not going to happen to them, and they need to be aware that it is. It could very easily happen to anyone, and they need to know what to do in that situation. There's an example of a local firefighter recently was found in his home that had burned. He was 3 feet from the exit, and we're talking about a trained person who knew what to do, who knew everything to follow the book, you know, and he was 3 feet from an exit. The smoke can be so thick, it can be so devastating. You get so disoriented, you know. You start to lose oxygen, and once your oxygen level starts going down, you're not thinking straight. And again, this was a trained person, and he couldn't get his way out, you know. And it's so very important for us, just as individuals, to have an escape plan, to practice it, to know exactly what to do in case we're ever faced with a situation like that, and execute it immediately. Don't procrastinate. Don't procrastinate about drawing you up a plan. Don't procrastinate about practicing it. And certainly, if the time arises when it does go off, get out. Don't look around to see what's going on. That's so very important. If we could just get that point across to everyone, and once we get out, don't go back in. The trained personnel who are equipped with the gear and the knowledge that can go back in your house, but not you. You're not equipped for that.
Carolyn, I'd like to thank you for being on the program. It's been an honor. It's been a treat. Some very good information. We'll be right back after these messages.
And here are the answers to your spot quiz test. What's the first thing you should do when you walk into a public building you've never entered before? You should look for the nearest exits. If they're blocked or not easily reached, you should leave. If a public place is filled over capacity or has too few exits, what should you do? You should immediately walk out of the nearest exit. It's never a good idea to needlessly put yourself in harm's way. At the first sound of a fire alarm, what should you do? You should immediately take action. Don't hesitate. Look for your closest exit and quickly escape. If there's intense smoke, crawl low. In case of fire, should you exit out of the same door you came in? Not necessarily. In crisis situations, most people bypass the nearest exits and head for the entrance where they came in. This extra time can be the difference between life and death. What safety features should you look for before booking a hotel or motel? Make sure the lodging facility has working smoke alarms and sprinklers. What should you pack with you when staying overnight at a hotel or motel? A working smoke alarm, a dust mask to cover your nose and mouth, duct tape to seal the door from smoke, a flashlight, and a bottle of water.
Lots of information to think about and to put into action. Your escape plan is a vital part of being safe in fire emergencies. Whether you're at home, work, school, or in the general public, you need to be thinking about what to do in case of a fire. Plan to survive and escape from death. Those are today's facts on fire. Thank you for joining us.